Well, it's match 47. It potentially could be 47 degrees out there because this one comes from Venky, and I'm talking about a Monday night clash between KKR and RR. And who do we have in the house? A big RR fan in Graeme Swann. Don't go anywhere. You want to watch this. Yes, boys and girls, my name's Avnish Hegde and you're watching cricket.com as always. And we have Graeme Swann on the show. Swanee, how are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. Even though Newcastle didn't beat Liverpool.
I love how you just always have to have some tongue-in-cheek, but we always appreciate that, especially with me sulking about Manchester United. But look, that's a chat for another day. Let's talk about your Royals first, because have they kind of exceeded expectations, even from the biggest fans like yourself?
Well, they lost, didn't they? They lost their last game. And I don't know, I think we're going into a stage of the season where Rajasthan have to stay true to their roots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They need to stay very positive, especially in the middle overs. First half of this IPL, on very good batting wickets, especially for the top order, they've been fine. Josh Buttler's been scoring loads and they've been getting huge scores. But the other night, in the middle overs against spin, they looked a little lost. They didn't know how to score quickly. I think they went slightly inside their shell and didn't back themselves to keep going. As soon as Josh got going, he hit those 4 sixes. But there were 4 or 5 overs where they didn't do that. And I think Rajasthan have to quickly get back to doing it, being ultra aggressive if they're going to carry on their form.
Yeah, speaking of ultra aggressive, these two teams have already played each other in IPL 2022, and that game saw over 400 runs, and it was a slender win for the RRs that day, courtesy of Yuzvendra Chahal hat-trick and a fifer. And do you think that'll have a mental bearing for the players out there this time around? Or
yeah, maybe. What it will do for like Chahal when he's bowling, he'll remember that, and players do remember that at certain periods of the game, you know, Rajasthan were actually losing that game for a long time before that hat-trick. That really killed the game off and was a brilliant turnaround. So everyone will remember that period of the game. And, you know, what always happens in the IPL and in cricket is I bet the same batsman are batting in more or less the same part of the game against the same bowler. And we'll have to see who comes out on top. Chahal's still bowling brilliantly, so I'd back him.
Okay, let's see if it's deja vu. But let's pick the bones out of it further. And we'll start with KKR and their openers, because they've chopped and changed and kind of had everyone on the board with their heads there. But look, what is the reason, despite shuffling their pack, why is it still failing? Can you put a finger on it, Swanee?
I can't really. It's like with Mumbai that I can't put my finger on why Rohit Sharma's not scoring runs. I was going to say LCB, but Virat's back now. I do think Venky Iyer has to open the batting. I think he was brilliant opening last season in the UAE, and I don't think it suits him batting down the order. So I'm happy to see him opening. And again, because it's Baz McCullum, because it's KKR, I want to see them being ultra aggressive. I think all the teams who are searching for, you know, a method of winning more games, being consistent, the quickest thing to go, the easiest thing to get rid of is a positive attitude and to become more cautious and more conservative. And I think that is definitely not the way to go. The teams who are not doing that, Lucknow and Gujarat, are the ones who are still winning. So I think, you know, they need to get a bit of buzz about the batting. Go out there and tee off.
Okay, let's see who comes out for them this time around. Now, you mentioned a man there in Venky Iyer. Is he a victim of the second season syndrome, you feel?
Yes, second season syndrome. This is something that is purely a mental thing. And it does happen to a lot of players. Whenever you hear old players saying, you've got to work on your game, you've got to change for next season because people will work you out. It is nonsense. People don't work you out. If you're a good player and you do exactly the same things in your second year as you did in your first, you will do well. The thing is, in your first year, if you've had a good season, you don't expose many of your weaknesses. In your second year, you lose faith in those, all the things that you did that did well for you, and start believing the hype from ex-players. And people say, "Oh, be careful next year, though. It gets tricky." It doesn't. If you commit to what you've always done, you just fly past that second season syndrome. But definitely, Iyer, he's been a victim of not batting in his preferred position for a lot of the time, opening the batting, and also when he gets in there, you're not quite having the same mindset. But I think it's more to do with the position he bats in.
I mean, they've kind of really thrown him up the order, and then They've also thrown him down the order. So let's see which route they kind of go with this time around. Let's shift our attention then to, of course, Rajasthan Royals. And it's invariably, oops, the Buttler did it. But it's becoming a scenario of, oops, the Buttler did it again and again and again. I mean, what's with this man, this tournament? 566 runs in the 9 innings. He's potentially in the words to break the all-time record, which is 973 by Virat Kohli, of course. Can he do that, first and foremost, Swanee?
First and foremost, 973 from Virat Kohli.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, we know that Virat's class and he got 400s in that year, but 973 is just a bonkers amount of runs in 14 games. But I think he could do it. I think the thing with Joss, the other night he didn't bat that well for him. Certainly not as well as he has batted for the rest of the season. He didn't quite have his timing, and he picked up his scoring rate with 4 sixes in 4 balls before he got out. But until that point, he wasn't looking vintage Joss. And the fact that he's still got 60 odds shows you just what form he's in. When you're below par and you're still taking wickets or scoring runs, the world is your oyster. And I think if it's a good batting wicket, Joss is likely to, just as likely to get 100 as he is not. So I'm loving watching him bat this year. He's ultra aggressive. If you put it in the certain area, which is basically anywhere pitched up or in the slot, he will hit it for 6. And he's not mishitting any. He's just banging it out the ground. And I think nearly every batsman in the IPL would give anything to have his sort of rich vein of form at the moment.
Yeah, he's seeing it like a football, but he's also, of course, bringing out the tennis shots, the hockey shots, the baseball, and not to forget the golfing swings. But on a serious note here, is he now of that mindset that, you know what, even if I'm, say, 38 of 33, which he was the other day, in fact worse, he can go and tee off in the end because those 4 sixes, like you mentioned, Mumbai, made his score look better. So is he almost treating this like a video game, if I dare say?
Almost, yeah. But he doesn't panic. When you're in form like that, you don't panic. And at the end of the day, if you're scoring your runs, if you're getting 60 odd off 50 balls or 48 balls, just because you caught up at the end, it's exactly the same as doing it early on and then petering out. So, what we've got used to this year with Joss is a ridiculous scoring rate of like getting his hundreds in 55, 56, 57 balls. And so when he only scores at strike rate of like 130, 140, you go, oh, what a bad game for Joss. And when you think about it, if you've got a career strike rate of 130, 140, you're top tier IPL player. So Joss is sort of a victim of his own success at the moment that everyone expects like miraculous knocks, Tawatia knocks all the time.
You're being kind there. Let's of course ask you about RR and sticking with spin because it's natural that we ask you this question. Now here's a really, really good stat for all you geeks out there. Because RR have won all of their 6 games where their spin duo has taken 3 wickets plus together in a match. Now, is it just experience between Chahal and Ashwin? They're both in the 150 plus club in terms of wickets, or is it more that they're doing to their game which is bringing the best out of them and the team in result?
I think it's a couple of things. First and foremost, you've got 2 world-class spinners, and they're the best 2 spinners. And they work as a partnership as well. They complement each other. One's a leggy and one's, the professor of all licorice all sorts. They're both bowling with the confidence that knowing that it doesn't all rely on them. When you look at some other guys like Rashid Khan or Bishnoi, it all falls on them a little bit when they bowl spin-wise. But these 2 have got each other from opposing ends. And so the captain has always got the privilege and the luxury of bowling them whenever suits. He never has to put one of them on in an over he doesn't really want to bowl them in because he's got 8 overs to play with rather than 4. So the 2 of them are great and they've got so much experience. They're such good bowlers. I wouldn't want to face them at the minute. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't want to face Chahal anyway because I couldn't pick leg spinners. But even Ashwin with all his Karen balls and running from behind the umpire and all sorts. If teams don't find a way of combating them, like Mumbai did actually the other night, Mumbai found a way of combating them and not allowing them to take all those wickets. That's the way to beat Rajasthan.
And how can a batsman plan against them? Because, like you said, they're canny, they're clever, they use all the tricks and they all have it in their repertoire. If you're a batsman, you're trying to be proactive out there, is it a case of simply fancy your chances against them, or is it a double-edged sword?
There's more than one way to skin a cat. People who sweep, Ashwin especially, are in a lot of trouble because he bowls very wicket to wicket with the Karen balls. I wouldn't be sweeping him. I'd be trying to use my feet. I'd be trying to mess his line and length up as much as he's trying to mess my rhythm up. It's easier said than done because, you know, he doesn't bowl his delay ball anymore, but he's still got the 24-yarder and the carrot ball and the spinner and everything. Chahal's just spinning it a long way at the minute, making himself very hard to play. So it's not easy. The reason they're two of the best bowlers in the world is because they're very hard to bat against. And so, I don't know, if I knew the answers to that, I'd probably be a batting coach somewhere.
Okay, let's of course ask you for your predictions, but before that, it's a Mr. Milestone, which you guys are of course loving back home, and Swanee has this question for you guys today.
Yes, my question for today in Mr. Milestone, which batsman needs just 19 more runs to reach 1,000 in the IPL?
Yeah, let us know in the comments below, and of course the clues all the time that this player is part of this fixture. So think wisely, let us know. The first guy gets, or girl of course, gets the goodie bag from cricket.com. Right, predictions, or is it needless to say that RR is the team that you're backing definitely, despite me wearing pink as well?
No, I'm not like that. I follow RR, but I'm not going to say they'll win regardless of who they're playing, but they will win this one.
So is it no kind of hope for KKR?
No, there is hope. I think if KKR go out there and shrug off the sort of bad batting in the last couple of games and go out with that Baz McCullum sort of attitude and joie de vivre with the bat, then there could be a very tricky opponent because they've got brilliant spinners themselves.
Okay, let's see how it all unfolds. Remember, from the Wankhede Stadium on Monday night, and it'll be fascinating to see if Rajasthan Royals pocket these 2 points and take yet another step to entering the playoffs of IPL 2022. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. I'm Avnish Hegde, and Graeme Swann, of course, as you saw him as well.